better to be a diamond in the rough than a polished fake in denial. Horror movies are rarely taken seriously in Hollywood. Directors and big production companies see them as a risk. That's why when we see a horror movie on the marquee, it's generally a remake, a sequel, or the movie is an unoriginal carbon copy of a horror picture that was successful before it. But times are changing in Hollywood. We're starting to see production companies and filmmakers who set out only to make scary movies. We must protect these people. Jordan Peele didn't connect with me with his horror films, but I must applaud the man. He set out to make something original, and he did the damn thing. This industry needs more of that. The movie we are talking about today is a great example of how filmmakers' love for horror beat the odds of the box office and managed to reach cult status amongst fans of the genre. Rob Zombie's 2003 film, House of a Thousand Corpses. The aesthetics in Rob's movies are matched by no other. House is a slashing, psychedelic hillbilly fever dream, and I love it. It was a success at the box office, grossing over $16 million, and I imagine sales and DVDs and licensed merchandise have tripled that number. You may not be a fan of Rob Zombie's movies, and that's okay, but if you're a fan of horror, I urge you to find me a filmmaker who's more dedicated to the genre. Find me someone else who is giving us characters more iconic and impactful than the Firefly Family. I'm all ears. Rob went through hell to get this picture made, so we're going to dive deep into all the drama regarding the production and talk about what made this film so legendary. Big episode, lots to unpack, so if you're here with us, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And without any further introduction, here is our take on A House of a Thousand Corpses.
It's all true. The boogeyman is real, and you found it.
Boom! Welcome to the Sloppy Horror Podcast. I'm your host and your scary movie companion, Christian Ramey. And here again for another week, clapping them cheeks, is the best producer in the whole wide world, Ozark Mark. What's going on, Ozark?
Hello, Mr. Christian Ramey.
What's going on? You having a good day?
Of course.
Absolutely, man.
I'm breathing. That's good enough for me.
Summertime now. It's officially summer. The heat is out.
Yeah.
We got well, right now we record on Thursday, so 4th of July weekend's coming up for us, so we're pretty pumped up about that. Going to have lots of fun. But I'm even more excited for this movie we're talking about today. Last week was our first zombie movie. This week is our first Rob Zombie movie.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Who?
Rob Zombert.
Who?
Robert Zombert.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
The Robert Zombert. That's right, boys and girls. So we saw no other way fit than to kick it off with his director debut, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Ah, The House of a Thousand Corpses.
What a great title.
That's a lot of corpses.
Wow. So,
that's a big tank.
If you guys haven't seen House of a Thousand Corpses, it's been 20 years. And I know...
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Mark. It was technically released in 2003, but it started in, 1999. That's when they started making this. This movie was hell for Robert to get out. He had to go through a bunch of different things to get this made, a few different production companies, then he had to buy his own movie. It's a whole pain in the ass. I will get into that further. But if you have not seen the movie, I'll give you a quick rundown.
Shouldn't take too long here.
No, it's a very simple rundown. Two couples are on a car trip. They have low gas. They go to this weird gas station. They get led astray, trying to find a local legend called Dr. Satan. The guy at the gas station tells them about it. Captain Spaulding. He's a very iconic character. You've probably seen him before. He's the clown played by Sid Haig. Rest in peace. He's no longer with us. So,
son of a bitch.
I know, lost a great one. So these couples go exploring, try to find the local legend, and they find something that they didn't want to find. They find a family of crazy people, the Firefly Family. Excuse me, can't talk today. This family, a very Manson-style, Texas Chainsaw-style family. They kill the couple. Pretty awesome. All the couples, they kill everybody. It's lots of fun. Lots and lots of fun. If you're familiar with 70s horror, that's what Rob's movies always feel like to me. Now, this movie being his first movie, it wasn't shot on a 16. I think it was 32. It looked a lot cleaner. And his other films he shoots now like on 16 and he blows them up so they get that kind of grainy feel. But even this has a 70s feel and look. He shoots all of his movies in the 70s. He said that's just what he likes.
Well, I mean, when you're rich, you can pretty much do what you want, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would be hard-pressed to find many horror fans who haven't seen this movie, and now that we're on the Robert Zombert topic, a lot of people are real hit and miss.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's split down 50-50 because Robert Zombert, he really makes horror movies only really horror fans will like, seems like to me, because I love Robert Zombert's movies, but that's because I'm a horror fan, not a horror nerd, but I am a fan of horror. Like, I understand horror. Like, I root for the people you're not supposed to root for. And that's what his movies kind of do. Like, this movie, House of a
Thousand Corpses.
You gave it to me now. You gave it to me. I need to talk. A House of 1,000 Corpses, okay? The fucking, you know what I mean? You expect there to be a final girl to live, all the stereotypical things, people root for the nice people. No. It's just, you're there for the villains. You're fans of the villains. Horror fans love the villains. That's why they watch the movies. They don't watch it for the main people. They watch it for the villains. They watch it for Spaulding, Otis, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, baby.
All that stuff.
Even, there's a lot of love for Mama Firefly, too.
Yeah, so horror fans, I expect to like this movie. If you're just watching a horror movie and you pick this up, you'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I mean, this movie is straight up a fever dream. And we talk about this all the time about how Rob does a great job with casting, but you're very right, Ozark Mark. He does it for the horror fan. Let me take that back. He does it for himself. Yeah, it's what he likes to do. These people that he hires in his movies are people that he likes, just like any other director in the world. Have you ever seen a Scorsese picture? You don't think Joe Pesci, fucking Robert De Niro and Pacino, those kind of guys have been in Scorsese pictures? You don't think Adam Sandler has the same 9 people in every one of his movies? They do. That's what directors do. So when people tell me things like that, I just don't. It's a very uneducated film comment to say.
Well, it's like, you know what I mean? What would you do if you were director?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would get people that you like.
It's just you're not I don't know. In my opinion, it's just like you're showing how naive you are to films and directors.
It's not like a job application where you're picking the best candidate. No, you're going around and finding people that you like and things that you think would work.
Absolutely. This movie's no exception to that.
No.
So, I mean, even the people they had, Rob made his own choice because they wanted to go. This was initially picked up by Universal Studios. They somehow talked with Rob, and Rob was like, what's really wild is this movie almost didn't come out. Rob was working for Universal Studios, doing something for like their haunted house tour shit in October, and they did a ride for one of his music videos. And he was helping them out. And then he somehow got to rub elbows with these film producers, and he just was kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, talking shit about movie ideas that he would make. And they were just like, oh yeah, we'll do that. And they like let him make this movie. And I mean, it almost didn't happen. It just wasn't a thing almost. I think it's so crazy how this slipped through the cracks. I'm very appreciative that he stuck with it, because who knows if he would ever continue to try to make another movie. But to go through hell like that, I mean, that's what a real director does. That's what a real horror director, as a matter of fact, does. You got to go through hell to get your movie out there. But he has all these great people in the movie. So the couple, you have Rainn Wilson for all my Office fans, Chris Hardwick for all my Walking Dead fans. Those are the 2 fellas in there. And then, Bill Moseley, Sid Haig, Karen Black, his smoking hot wife, Sherry Moon Zombie. Mm-hmm. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Like, it's so good. But another wild fact, though, is now, going back watching this movie almost 20 years later, a good 50% of this cast is dead. Grandpa's dead. Mama Firefly's dead. Tiny's dead. The cop's dead, Tom Towles. I mean, all these people are dead.
Did you say
Michael
Sid?
Pollack? Yeah, Sid Haig. He's
Sid's
dead too. Yeah, you're right. A lot of these people are gone, man. It's really strange if you go back. That guy outside of the gas station, that big guy that wore like the mask, and he came in and helped when the store was getting robbed.
Yeah.
A lot of these people have passed away. And it's just really strange because for some reason this movie does not feel 20 years old.
It doesn't. That's why I was surprised when you said it's a 20-year-old movie.
It just doesn't feel that old.
No.
But I think that's the sign of a good movie. If your movie is very much stuck in a year, it's not going to live forever. It's not going to live forever. You can go back and even, let's say outside of horror, if you go watch The Breakfast Club, everyone can watch that. Even though that's an 80s movie, that movie transcends throughout time because you have to have a good dialogue, a good script. You have to have emotions that people can go with. And I think this movie just kind of lives on like that. It definitely reached a cult status. It wasn't huge right away as far as theater success, but throughout underground and like DVDs, the circulation, this movie made its way around. And House of a Thousand Corpses, everybody knows this. Now, if you don't like it, that's totally okay. But this is definitely in my wheelhouse. Very, he has a almost like white trash aesthetic mixed in with like a 70s shock horror with a real grainy way of shooting. And this particular movie, as we said, they were shooting in a better quality, but it almost splits into like two different parts of the movie, right? Rob started making music videos, and you can tell very much in this one, like his start, because it has like a music video feel. Yeah. Not like a musical, but like a music video.
Yeah, those cuts in between scenes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But the end sequence, like the last 20 minutes when they're underground, the colors, the sounds, the everything. I mean, it is a fucking fever dream, dude. It's nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
That's somebody's nightmare. You could no one could have made that or thought or created that except for Rob Zombie. And I just really appreciated it. It was something new. I didn't see that before. I've never seen anything like that.
No.
Nothing. I can't compare that to anything. Now, Rob is very critical of this movie because it's his first, but he's an artist. As somebody who creates things, I know what it's like to critique yourself, and obviously you're first. You're going to go back and critique it, but...
You're going to critique anything you make for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, but Robert, from the bottom of my heart, if you're listening out there, you made a great movie. You made a great movie, and he wasn't even able to do everything he wanted in it because... Universal was flooding out the money, and it was going really well until it wasn't. And then they screened the movie for people, and Rob thought the audience really liked it. But then, like after the movie was screening, the producer lady was like, "Yeah, you need to come to my office tomorrow." She's like, "Yeah, we're not doing this fucking movie." And he's like, "Well, hell." Well, then MGM says, hey, we'll help you out. We'll help you with some money to help you edit this movie. We'll throw you a few bones. Yeah. So he's like, okay, cool. So he starts editing this movie. Well, somehow Rob had this gig for MTV where he was interviewing Ben Affleck and somebody fucking else. It was for something. I forget for what. But they had asked Rob, they said, yo, what's going on with your movie? Are you still making it? And he says, yeah, MGM's helping out now. I guess they don't have any fucking, any morals. They decided they would help me out, help old Rob out. Well, I guess he didn't know, it wasn't during the interview, but he was like mic'd up. Somebody heard it. So like the next day he goes to work at MGM and they're like, yeah, we're locked out. They're done with the movie. And they said, fuck yourself, It's just like, so he lost out on MGM.
Some people just don't have a sense of humor.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Sad.
It was an insult to himself. He was clearly saying, like, oh, I'm depraved and I make crazy movies and they're, So what Rob had to do was go back to Universal Pictures and convince Universal that his movie was shit so that he could buy it back. He's like, look, guys, what are you going to do with this? Nobody wants this fucking movie. Let me just have it. And the price was really high, and then it just kept chipping down and chipping down and chipping down till Rob got to a point where he could buy it. So he bought it. Lionsgate bought it from him and rights to the sequel. And then, here we are. But that's a lot of hoops to jump through. I heard Rob speaking. I don't remember who it was that told him, but after Rob left Universal, he was talking to somebody. He says, look, no matter what you do, just get the fucking movie made or it'll never happen. Just do it. So Rob said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to crank it out. And, I'm really appreciative he did. Because, this was high school for me. This movie was a big part of my high school years. It just, I don't know, it's close to me. I very much like it. I like Rob's movies, his music, and obviously everybody knows that. And, so I'll always have love letters for his movies. I really do appreciate them, but I think it's very geographical, like where you come up and how you're raised and where you come from. And I don't know. I like it. I love his dialogue in his movies.
Dialogue is some of the best. For horror fans, though, regular people, I'm telling you, it's such a horror fan movie, dude. It really is. So when somebody says, I don't like that movie, I was like, well, you might probably not a fan of horror then. You know what I mean? Because, like...
Otis, he needs a pull-string doll. He does.
Oh, I know.
He says, listen here, you middle-class Malibu Barbie piece of shit. I'm working here. You know what work is?
I love his little segments where he just goes off. His random tangents. Oh, man, I can't even remember half of them. But
this ain't no White Sox with Mickey Mouse on one side and Donald Duck on the other. You ever work? And I'm not talking about scooping ice cream for your shit-heel friends in the summertime. He's so fucking crazy.
Oh no, he's that's what I love about him, because he's so crazy.
Well, that's
because
I mean? Bill Moseley. And
he's fucked.
I'm gonna talk to the world right now. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm gonna talk to the world as if they don't know who Bill Moseley is. Now, my horror fans are like, "Shut up, Christian." But say if you're not familiar with Bill Moseley, he's the actor who plays Otis Driftwood. He's a crazy member of the family, very much like the Charles Manson of the family. They're all their own kind of leaders, but he's very much the intelligence behind the group. He's very scary. But he was Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. I mean, he's a horror legend. He's been in all kinds of horror flicks, but Rob loved his performance in that as Chop Top, and he was doing some kind of awards. I don't remember what the award show was, but Bill was there, so was Rob, and Bill was dressed up in his Chop Top, giving out awards as Chop Top. Mm-hmm. And Rob was saying, like, man, that guy does a really good Chop Top impression. And then Rob won one of the awards, and he went up there, and he was like, no, that's the guy. That's the actual guy who plays him. So they end up becoming friends, and then, a year or two later, they agreed to make a movie together. But that's just so neat to see how, like, friendships are made and, like, how people hop on board. Because, when you think Rob Zombie and Bill Moseley, they go hand in hand. But it was just like oh, man, I like your costume. You're doing good. No, that's me. I was the one that did that. Oh, cool. Let's be friends. You want to do karate in the garage? Bam, now they got a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
That's very cool to me. It's just, they did a bunch of things to work this out. And just very strange, Mark. Very strange how things work out.
Very strange indeed.
I'm very happy it did. And not that, you got crazy dialogue. You've got music video imagery. You have a little bit of nudity. You have a little bit of, like, rock and roll. A little bit of grit and it's just dark. But with a dash of comedy underneath all of it. It's sitting on a bed of satire. Like the whole.
I always love in his movies where he just has those random parts that have nothing to do with the story, but they're always hilarious. From this one, it's the Red Pussy Liquor Store.
Red Hot Pussy Liquor.
Red Hot Pussy Liquor Store.
You know what's funny
about that?
That guy
behind the counter is hilarious. And of course, the Devil's Rejects, you have the chicken fucker sing.
That's my fiance's last name is so Ober. So that scene makes it very funny to me.
Have you ever showed it to her?
Yeah.
What'd she say?
She just laughs. She thinks it's funny.
She's just doing it so you leave her alone.
He said, I love that scene too, because they walk into this liquor store and this guy's got a name tag on that says Goober. And she says, what's shaking, Goober? And he says, it's actually Jerry Ober, but that asshole in the back put an O over the dot, so it says Goober. And he says, y'all have a whole lot of holy water for just two people. You guys party? And she says, yeah, we like to party and do fucked up shit. And he says, yeah, I like to party, do fucked up shit too. Yeah. I like to party, do fucked up shit too.
You can watch that. I don't know how you can watch that and not laugh. Oh, man.
I feel like Grandpa's your favorite character.
Grandpa? No, Grandpa's not my favorite character.
I just thought he would be.
No, Grandpa's funny though, but no, he's not my favorite character.
Are you an Otis guy? Or are you a Tiny? Tiny has a
Tiny makes me laugh the most. But I'm gonna go. If you have to pick my favorite character out of the movie, obviously Captain Spaulding, just because. But that's a given. But if you're talking like my favorite, if you're talking about my favorite sequence or part in the movie, it's tiny all the way. It's back when he has the lady, one of the girls tied up in his bed, and he just comes down with a plate full of cereal and a shirt that says cheap ass Halloween costume. And he just comes down and he just starts eating cereal, just minding his own business. It's so funny, so random. It's not supposed to happen. He's just minding his business. Bowl. Yeah, he's just drooling everywhere, just enjoying himself. And then he lets her go. He unties her, and then she's like, "I'm gonna go home now." He's like, he just waves like, "All right, bye." Just keeps eating his cereal, like not giving a shit. Like he's the member of the family that's like innocent, similar to like Leatherface. Like he's like obviously fucked up in the head and shit, right?
Yes.
So, he wouldn't be that way. He wouldn't be attacking people if he wasn't with the family, right?
Yes.
He'd probably be one of the nicest people in the world if he wasn't with that family.
Absolutely.
It kind of shows right there because he just goes down, he tries to offer cereal, like, hey, want some of this?
Now, Rob said his biggest influences for this, he says in people's earliest work, they haven't necessarily escaped their influences, so they make what their influences. And like I can get that as a person who made music, do whatever. Like I can vaguely get what he's saying there, but I do think this is very his own. But what he says this movie's like if you put Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Rocky Horror Picture Show in a blender, and this is like what would the after product be? And I can agree with that. Like, if you remember in Texas Chainsaw, when you go into the house and there's just, like, feathers and
bones, all that shit.
Yeah, just real creepy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't the same layout, but it had a very just unique, similar vibe. Did you notice the horror movie reference in this, Mark, on the wall?
Oh, shit. It said, I know what you're talking about.
It's when Chris Hardwick's character is tied to a chair.
Yeah.
And Sherry Moon Zombie comes in there and
yes.
starts to cut his hair. There's a large Universal Studios classic monster plastered on the wall next to him. It is the creature of the Black Lagoon.
That's what it was.
Yes, it was giant. It's beautiful. I don't know how that was done. I don't know if that was on a soundstage because some of these scenes, like I said, since he had to bounce around in it, it was hard for him to finish. A lot of those sequences, like with Otis and the cheerleaders and some of the other random things, they were done in Rob's basement, like in after production. Like he had to like make those scenes. So
well, you could, but it'd be easy to get away with those. I can see that because of how he goes to those scenes. He does all the editing and all the effects on those kinds of scenes, so you can get away with that. I mean, you could do it in your house, in your living room. You could probably recreate that scene in your living room and get away with it.
Yeah,
so
I don't know where that
smart deal.
I don't know where that creature of the Black Lagoon thing's at, but that's awesome. And you could tell that's a nice little Universal plug.
I like when Grandpa's in there watching the monsters.
Yeah, he's just watching TV too when they're racing the cars, like. He says, "Put me in there. I'll race that son of a bitch." Or something. I'll race that son of a bitch. I'll show you how to drive. He said, "Old man, you couldn't fit your fat ass in that car."
Dude, just the dialogue is, like you said, is just great, man.
Don't start with me.
It's a lot of fun because they're psychos, man, and that's what draws you to this movie. That's everything to this movie is shock value and psychos.
Captain Spaulding's got great dialogue too.
He's got the best dialogue, I think.
I like when the kids go missing and then the cops are looking for him, and the first place they stop is Captain Spaulding's little gas station where he sells chicken.
Yeah.
And they start asking questions, and Captain Spaulding's just real, lighthearted and being funny, and they're not dealing with this shit. And they eventually he grabs him. He's like, "Now you're gonna tell me where those kids went, blah blah blah." And he's like, "All right, now don't get all True Grit on my ass." I don't know why that makes me laugh so hard.
Just when he comes out, "Oh, hello, officers." Best is when when the kids first go to the store and Dwight, the guy from The Office, what's his name again? I see him as Dwight. I'm sorry,
Rainn Wilson.
Even though I saw him first in this movie, I still see his ass as Dwight. I don't even watch The Office that much. He's just fucking Dwight now.
Yep, Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson in there, and in between here, and he's just asking him a bunch of questions. Like, yeah. It's like, why you keep asking so many stupid fucking questions?
Why you keep asking so many jackassy questions?
Just
Yeah.
when I love how he can go from like funny just to serious. You just see that head turn, like, oh shit, something's real. Love that about Captain Spaulding.
Yeah, and rest in peace. I mean, obviously it was 20 years ago, but he was still like, obviously it's like he's in his 50s or something there.
Mm-hmm.
And, he lost a lot of weight towards the end. It was sad to see him, like, how he went out. But what an homage, like, just for him to be able to do the Three from Hell. And, like, obviously, we'll segue back to this, to House of a Thousand Corpses. But just as far as Sid, he was so sick in Three from Hell and, like, getting that done that they had, like, Rob had a whole script wrote out, like, a whole other way. And then, like, once he saw, like, how sick Sid was, he had to, like, incorporate Richard Brake's character and then kind of, like, kill Sid within the movie, which is sad because, he passed, like, right as it was being released. So it's like, Could you imagine, like, knowing you're dying and, like, you're going to make a movie, like, where because you're a character a lot of people love.
Yeah.
And, like, you die in that because you're about to like continue the franchise. Like, isn't that like kind of a fucked up, like, morbid thing to think? Like, because he knew, like, I don't have much longer.
Well, that would give him more motivation, really, I would think, to want to do the movie, because if you're a creative person like these actors are,
Sure.
like, you're the one that doesn't want to retire. You always want to continue doing this. You always want to continue to create. You always So I'm sure, like, he was thrilled, even though if he was sick. I bet you that phone call was like, nah, motherfucker, I ain't sick enough. Let's go. I'll be there. I bet you he was.
I guess, too, like, when they started doing certain, like, little meetings and wardrobe fittings and stuff, Sid started missing a couple, and Rob's like, what the fuck? But it's all right. We got lots of time. And then I guess Sid called him and said, like, look, I've been in the hospital. I'm pretty sick. And then, like, him and Sherry went to see him, and Rob's like, well, I guess I could do this and that. And Sherry's like, dude, you're, like, fucking high if you think he can do anything. Like, he's like, no way. But, these guys all work together for, like, 20-plus years, and it's sad. He's a great actor, and House of a Thousand Corpses, that's probably my favorite role my favorite Captain Spaulding role is in House of a Thousand Corpses. I know he got a lot more love in Devil's Rejects, but he had some more iconic lines. I just really liked his character in this. I love the fact that, like, some guy in pajama pants and, like, a stained T-shirt has grease paint on, selling chicken and gas in the middle. like that makes me happy. Like, I hope that's real.
His clown figure thing outside the gas station just going up and down, hilarious. And his little ride too.
What is it with the, like, the
Satan,
70s and 80s, like, animatronics and, like, weird, like, they were scary. And, like, the clowns, like, the old Chuck E. Cheese, like, look up the 70s or, like, 80s, like, animatronic Chuck E. Cheese. They were scary looking. Like, they weren't, and you got, like, pictures with kids. They're creepy. I wouldn't want to, I love clowns, but that clown's freaky, man.
Yeah, it is. Just thanks, it's because they weren't developed yet, man. You know what I mean? People didn't know what they were really making. They just put this shit together, and they didn't think about, like, hey, this looks creepy as fuck.
Dude, go back and look at, like, the old
Dude, look at the Disney pictures, like the first Mickey Mouse and shit costume.
Oh, yeah.
Holy fuck.
Very
weird.
weird.
Want to talk about shit? I don't now. Not a lot of stuff scares me, but that shit right there.
I'm gonna give
That's
you a little
scary
history
shit.
on Halloween. So, like, Halloween's roots and origins, obviously.
The holiday of the movie.
Well,
which one are you talking about here?
Halloween.
Oh,
the holiday.
Okay.
The holiday. And this movie takes place on Halloween. But I'm going to give you what Halloween. So it comes from a few different things. Like, Samhain is, like, more of, like, the pagan belief. And that's, like, the spirits and that kind of aspect.
Like the Day of the Dead kind of thing, but in here.
Right. But what happened with trick-or-treating and how that became synonymous here in America, or how that became popular, I should say. Kids back in, like, the 20s and 30s were, like, bad fucking kids. So, like, the night before Halloween, like, Devil's Night, or, like, whatever you called it in your town, because everybody had different. Like, I've heard Cabbage Night. I've heard,
Cabbage Night.
That's a Kentucky thing.
Never heard of that.
There's all different kinds of, the night before Halloween. But, kids go out, smash pumpkins, throw rocks through windows. Well, apparently before the fucking internet in the 20s and 30s, when these kids didn't have nothing to do, they were bad. So they came up with the idea for trick-or-treating. So they would keep these badass little kids from breaking windows and shit. They're like, no, put on costumes and we'll give you candy. And that's how trick-or-treating came to be, Ozark Mark. And if you go back and look at these 20s and 30s costumes, they are nightmare fuel, brother. They are freaky.
They are scary as shit.
It's like, who made these? And then, like, even into the 60s.
Their parents made them.
Even into the 60s and 70s, they had these, like, weird rubber, plastic, like... The 80s and the 90s kind of got like a little more like commercial and cooler, but dude, them 70s and before costumes were fucking strange and indifferent from anything your eyes have seen before.
Yeah.
So that's a little Halloween trick-or-treat lesson for that ass.
Well, that's good for that ass. Speaking of knowledge for that ass.
You got some stuff maybe I might know?
You never know. Maybe you'll have to find out here on Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the What Do You Know here. This is where the segment here where we're here to tell you something that you may or may not know about this movie. Now, if you know what we know, then you're going to have a we know-gasm. But if you don't know what we know, you're about to find out what we know, and then you come late to the party, but we'll sync up and you'll have one too. You'll be wet down there in the trouser area. Anyway, so we're talking about A House of 1,000 Corpses here.
Yeah.
Directed by Robert Zombert. There's some facts about this movie that you may or may not know. So, I'm going to ask you something that you may or may not know about this movie. What do you know here about this movie? Here.
You know?
Yeah.
I done all kinds of research towards this picture here.
Oh, good.
And you know, usually when I bring you these facts, I don't want to bring you the basic facts that maybe everyday horror fans know, because this whole episode is a fact you may or may not know if you don't know the movie, right?
When's the last time you seen an encyclopedia?
Seen one?
Yeah.
I got one here in the house.
That's why you know so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me something, fucker. Hurry up.
Oh, so you want to know something I know? Okay. I got something for you. So here's an incredible fact. You know, I don't want to give you all the basic facts that maybe a horror fan may know already, okay? I want to tell you something deep, brother. Something fucking deep here.
I like deep.
You know Otis Driftwood, the character in this movie, portrayed by Bill Moseley? Apparently, Robert Zombert, he likes to make characters that are very close to him, people that he actually knew. He likes to model them after people from his own life, okay? So Otis was somebody like he knew. He knew a whole family of these people. I guess he went to school with them. They were like it was like a family of albino hillbilly guys. And they didn't have like eyebrows and all kind of stuff, you know. No judgment. I'm just saying, you know, this is what I had. This is what I fucking had. So
they're hairless above the eye region.
Yeah, and they would like wear overalls and weird stuff. So that's where the inspiration for the look of Otis came from. The look.
Yeah, he looks pretty albino, don't he?
Yeah, they changed him a little bit going forward with Devil's Rejects.
It looks like he's been through one too many haunted houses and he got scared too much.
You notice this too. House of 1,000 Corpses, that's all done at nighttime. You know, it's like all nighttime picture. I mean, there's shots from the daytime, but mainly it's an all nighttime movie for the most part.
Well, it just happens in one night.
Right. If you look at the Devil's Rejects here.
Yeah.
All hot in the daytime, all sun. Okay?
Uh-huh.
You know, you switch it up. You got the day, you got the night.
You know, you got the peanut butter, you got the jelly.
Right, so
you got the cookie, you got the milk.
Right, so that's why they switched him up.
You got the screwdriver, you got the hammer. I know what you're saying here.
So that's why they switched up his look going forward into the next one, because they said that pale, that, you know, really pale, weird look he had, translucent look, it wouldn't work in the next movie, because he was going to be in the sun.
Yeah.
He would have died out there.
Yeah. What a fact. Hey, what a fucking fact here.
Hey, that's a good fact. Yeah, I know. What do you know? You know something about Otis Driftwood?
Yeah, I know something about this movie, you know, the 1,000 Corpses in a House.
Do go on.
So, Robert Zombert, you know that guy. The guy, you know, the director and shit, right?
The director.
He's a big fan of Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx? I
know
know
who
him. Mustache.
Yeah, the guy who's all in the old school movies with the big mustache and the guy in the glasses. You probably seen him in Looney Tunes if you got any kind of taste for good cartoons.
He smokes big cigars.
Yeah, that guy, you know, big eyebrows. Opposite of Otis, of course. Anyway, the characters in his movies are based off the Groucho Marx guys' movies. For instance, Captain Spaulding, Otis Driftwood.
Oh, okay, so these
What
are
do you think?
characters from Groucho Marx
Yeah, what do you
movies.
think about that, huh?
That's a nice fact.
I know it's a nice fact. That's why I told you.
What a nice homage.
Yeah, it was a good little, piece of information for your brain matter. You know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, that's good stuff there.
I know it's good stuff.
I very much like that kind of stuff. That's brand new facts for you.
Yeah, good new facts for that ass. And now, go change your pants, because you just had a wee orgasm, sir. Oh.
Mark. We do this every damn time with the movie. Every time. We learn new stuff. But another thing I like about our segments, because we're old. I mean, we've been friends we're not like old. We're in our 30s. We're at that point where we have shit to do besides hang out with our friends all the time.
Yeah, we're to the point where certain ball hairs are at least 6 inches to a foot long.
Yes. I mean, you got to do some manscaping.
Yeah, everybody does those. You always miss a couple, and they grow forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's how old we are.
It's been a long time. The thing I'm happy about, Mark, is that we get together and kick it and talk about horror movies, but I like to ask you what your favorite part, and you like to ask me what's my favorite part.
Sure.
But even further so, there's probably a few exchanges in this movie that you probably like or that stick out to you the most, but whether it's funniest, whether it's your favorite, just you throw it out there. What parts stick out to you the most? What do you like? If you were to say why you enjoyed this movie, what scenes would come to mind?
Well, I'm going to exclude all the Captain Spaulding scenes just because I love him so much.
Sure. You can mention those.
I do. I mean, the whole robbery scene is hilarious and all that stuff, but I'm going to try and go past that because I think that's pretty obvious. One scene I really liked is the scene where the cop and her father discover her in the barn. Yes. And, the whole thing goes there's just things happen that you don't expect, and this is what makes this movie so great. You don't expect Mother Firefly to pull out a gun and just shoot that cop right out of nowhere. Bam.
Yeah, that cop died.
He's dead. You expect one of them to be able to do something. The cop gets shot, or not the cop, the dad gets shot, bam. And my favorite part of all of it is the extra suspense he gives you, that Rob did in this scene, where the final cop is on his knees.
Yeah.
And he's got the gun to the head and in slow motion, and the music.
37 seconds.
It is, but the music stops halfway through it, and he's just slowly coming back, and you start feeling that anxiety, when is he gonna fucking pull the trigger? That's cool. You don't see that a lot in movies. That's kind of cool when you think about it, because I guarantee you, everybody when they first saw that scene, they're like,
is the TV broke?
In their mind, is the TV broke, or in their mind, they're they already saw it happen, but it didn't happen yet. I really enjoyed that.
I did too. I like that part a lot. Very suspenseful, very great reveal. And it gave a feeling of doom. You kind of had this all right, well, her dad's finally there to save her with the cops, and this cop's a badass cop, Tom Towles. He's got a vibe you fuck with, man. You're I like this guy. I like this cop. I mean, because usually the cops, they portray him, even though there's anti-heroes in this movie, most of the times they're portrayed the cops are not the good guys unless the whole movie is focused around the cops. But that's not the case in this. That's not the case. But you still don't want Tom to die. You're man. But he gets shot right, excuse me, right in the face.
Yeah.
Or the neck, I guess you should say. It was a rough kill.
It was not in a good spot.
No, it was not.
Let's just say that. It was point blank range.
Yeah, Tom he portrayed that character great. Let's see, what else do we have going on, Mark? Are you going to ask me my favorite?
I thought you were just going to tell me because you talk a lot.
Look, I'm going to need you to stop your fact-checking.
I'm not fact-checking, sir.
I need you to stop your fact-checking and focus and listen to what I'm telling you. Why this is so groundbreaking.
Then tell me already, dude. Jesus. It's your podcast. You're the host. Start talking.
Here's what I'm telling you, Mark.
You have really nice teeth.
They're large. I like the end sequence very much, but not even like the part where they're underground, but from the Who's Your Daddy part where he comes down stairs. Oh. He has all these people tied up, and they're in rabbit suits.
Yep.
And he killed this girl's dad, and he skinned the dad, and he was wearing his face and his skin.
Mm-hmm.
And he came walking down the stairs just with this like little jingle, like, "Who's the one who brings you Christmas candy? Who's your daddy? I'm the one who brings the devil's brandy. Who's your daddy?" And it got really weird, and I like that.
This is the biggest shock value to me in this movie. Like, not the reveal of Dr. Satan, not the underground stuff. Like, this knows, like, only horror fans will really like this shit. Yeah. Only horror fans can like to see one man skin another man, wear his skin, and kill the daughter of the skin that he is wearing.
I think that was kind of Bill's kind of, homage, if you will, to Texas Chainsaw 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very Texas Chainsaw-ish.
Well, you remember in Texas Chainsaw 2 where Lou Perryman's character, he gets, like, skinned alive. And, yeah, man, I was talking about that, too. That's really sad about Lou Perryman from Texas Chainsaw 2. I mean, that guy got murdered. Like, somebody broke in his house and killed him.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was, like, with an axe. Like, that's crazy, man. That's insane. Especially since he was, like, brutally murdered in a movie. And, like, the person who got him, I guess, didn't even, like, know him. He just, like, was an escaped convict. It's just, like, really horribly sad, but in the same light, I think this was kind of like it just reminded me a lot of in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 when they skinned LG and, they put it on Stretch's face. It was just very weird. Yeah. But I liked it. It was very cool.
Yeah.
It was good stuff, man.
It's really good stuff.
What other scenes do I like from this? For some reason, I like how after dinner, when Grandpa's just like, "It's showtime!" And, it's showtime, and they put on a little show for their guests. Grandpa had, like, little comedy hour, just telling these foul jokes and just screaming in the microphone. I really enjoyed that. And then Sherry Moon coming out doing like a Betty Boop. "I wanna be loved by you.
Mm-hmm.
You and nobody else."
It's absurd.
It's
really.
So strange.
It's so fucking strange, but it makes it.
It's a fever dream, buddy.
Yeah, that's it. That's the perfect way to describe this movie. Christian Ramey.
A good friend is a perfect way to describe you, Ozark Mark.
That's strike two. That's strike two. You say some dumb shit like that again, or you burp, you better be drinking that water. Because if you burp again, this can is empty. And you, audio listeners, will not see this can strike his fucking face, but you will hear it.
Mark has invested too much money into studio equipment to play games in here.
No, it's just an aluminum can. It's very lightweight, and it's recyclable, so it's good.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but...
How about you stop talking, which is almost impossible, I know, but to give me a second to make this thing pop up.
Sloppy horror rating, baby, yeah!
Hello there, my friends. We're here to be talking about...
I'm not expecting that.
The movie of 1,000 corpses and a house. That's a lot of corpses. It's the sloppy horror rating, bitch. And we're here to talk about A House of 1,000 Corpses with Christian Ramey, the horror nerd himself, with his big teeth and nice ears. So here we go. He's going to rate this movie on a series of 4 categories. 3 of the categories are worth 3 points. Last category is worth 1 point for a total of 10 points altogether.
Get it.
Yeah. So let's go on to the first category here in Sloppy Horror Podcast Rating, and that is casting.
Boy, stop. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Rob Zombie is the best horror caster I've ever seen. He's just a legendary guy who puts together an ensemble of actors and actresses who know horror, who are passionate, and they deliver. They look like they're all family, like they all connect. And Rob says if he brings somebody on and they don't have that, If somebody's like trying to outcompete each other and they don't have like a family mindset, you're gone. 3 out of 3. Everyone works in this movie. There's no one out of place. There's all kinds of oddities of characters. There's wholesome people. He didn't choose teen heartthrobs as his main characters, like the actors in peril. He chose cool people. 3 out of 3.
3 out of 3. That is a very accurate score for casting. I would agree with you on that. So we're at 3 out of 10 so far. We're going to go on to the next category here. And the next category in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating is kills.
Mark, there's a smorgasbord of murder in this movie. There is a wide array. So you start off in all sorts of different kinds of ways. Even in the beginning with the robbers, just straight up gunshots and attacks to the head, just blows to the head.
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of fun. Okay, yeah. right away. Very brutal. But you have everything. So they take Rainn Wilson's character, and Otis turns him into a fish boy, like a museum. Like he's like a merman. He's like a merman. Like half of his body is a fish, and then they keep the top half. I mean, they kill him brutally. He gets beat with baseball bats.
There's scalps getting cut off. There's scissors and brains. There's gunshots to the head. There's all kinds of corpses everywhere. There's 1,000 corpses in this. You know what I'm saying?
Just the death by stabbing.
Yes.
Just all sorts of fun. Because again, I will say it. I've said it once. I say it many times. I do not advocate real-life violence. I do not like real-life violence. But I love cinematic violence. And in my opinion, I really think Rob Zombie is the Quentin Tarantino of horror directors. Okay? He has a strange band of casts that he puts together. They're extremely violent, and he does great with his dialogue. They always have pop culture references. It's just a way of talking that has a realism if you grew up in a certain type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I oftenly mention, I mean, we live like kind of in the tri-state of like Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So we're right like on the Mason-Dixon line. There's all sorts of varieties of characters. But you definitely know those sorts of people that would talk like that. Like,
mm-hmm.
You Malibu middle-class Barbie piece of shit. You know what work is? Like,
you ever work for ruining your fucking day?
Exactly.
So your kill score is
3 out of 3, Mark.
Holy shit, 3 out of 3. Oh my god. So we're at
Perfect.
6 out of 10. 6. Don't do it.
I wasn't burping.
I'm going to start, I know, but I'm going to start cotton coughs. You're doing an audio entertainment show.
I'm sorry.
And you are splurging your exhalants gases all over the place. And
I'm
it's
sorry.
horrible.
I'll cut the cough.
So that's 6 out of 10 for the sloppy horror rating so far. So far, it's a perfect score. May we see the first perfect score on the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating ever? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. So we're going to go into the next category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating. And that is... Fuck, what have we done? Fear.
We had a perfect.
No, we did
we?
not. No, we
Okay.
did not. No, we did not. No, we did not. No, we did not. No, we did not. So
All
let's
right.
go on to fear. Fear.
So.
We had a 9.5 out of 10. That's the highest.
Oh, what was that movie?
I think it was the
Werewolf?
American Werewolf in London.
Okay.
So
So
we're on the fear here. Fear.
Now this is a hard category this is the hardest category for me to rate, for the fact that I don't have normal fears. I go in enjoying the things that maybe would scare normal people. But I have a large feeling that, like, if you just put, like, somebody that's frightened easy by horror movies, this would freak them out, and they would not like this. Because there's a realism of there being a family, and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking as we go. So we have realism as a family. Then we also have some, like, supernatural stuff.
There's supernatural stuff in there. There's helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously murder and the shock value
Mm-hmm.
there. You're right. This is hard when you're not
afraid
of when you actually like fucked up shit.
But
So-
I'm going to go a 3 out of 3 because it was so strange. It was so crazy. Like the cheerleaders tied to a bed, like the good guy cop getting shot in the neck, like people chained up in a garage. You have just real trancy like music, just like, and it's just crazy.
Do you think if a child saw this movie, it would fuck them up?
I do 100%.
Okay.
100%. So I'm going 3 out of 3.
Oh my goodness! May we see the first 10 out of 10. I think it's going to happen because this next question is a fucking given. But 9 out of 10 on the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating. So let's go on to the final category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is, does Christian Ramey fuck with this movie?
Yeah, I like to get fucked up and do fucked up shit.
It's a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 on the Sloppy Horror Podcast. What's that? I'm out of shit. I lost it. But that's a 10 out of 10, man. Holy shit. That says something about this movie. That says something about this movie here, because this is very exciting here. This is quite a spectacle to behold.
It's an original movie.
We have talked about pillars on this show. They have not made it to 10 out of 10. But you are witnessing it here first. If you're a current listener right now, this is the first 10 out of 10 here on the Sloppy Horror Podcast. So if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen this movie, which I highly doubt, this means that you need to go see this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an original film. You're never going to see anything like it. You've never seen anything like it before. It's its own thing. It's its own thing. And as a horror fan, I've seen many recycled tropes of the same old story, and I still enjoy them. I still enjoy them. I want to see Halloween 37. You know, like, even though it's like, I'd be like, man, end it. But if you came out with it, I still want to see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes sense. But it's not original.
Yeah.
This is original. It's by itself. It made its own characters. I mean, how many iconic movie horror characters are we getting? We don't get many. Name me 5 within the last 10 years.
Right.
Art the Clown, maybe. You know what I mean? Art the Clown for sure. But,
Yeah.
I mean, how many other iconic characters do you have? Not many. So for him to put together a whole family, and then people even outside of it, like, you know, you can bring in characters like Richard Brake, and Rob's doing his thing, and I don't care. I will die on this hill. I very much appreciate his movies. He's making original flicks that are delivering something raw, gritty, and he does whatever the hell he wants. Perfect movie. Perfect horror movie. It's its own goddamn thing. You will not see that. And
It's cool too, because none of the 3 series with these characters in it, you can't remake these movies ever. It's impossible.
yeah,
It's good.
It even has like a Hills Have Eyes kind of vibe, like a very small vibe to it. But even like with Wes Craven, that's its own damn film, like by itself. It's on its own island.
Yeah.
When you can come up with your own idea, man, that's perfect
Especially
to me.
because that doesn't happen that often anymore.
Yeah, and then like to have the balls enough to say, hey, studio, help me with this movie. And they're like, all right, we will. And they're like, oh, wait, this is it? No, we're out. And he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm still going to make it somehow, some way. And he made something that some people really, I mean, this only has a 20% Rotten Tomatoes rating.
Does it really?
Yeah, that's because they're strange. You know, like if they have a perfect film, it doesn't mean shit. But it's strange because some of my favorite horror classics have high ratings. So like some they give and some they don't. It really upsets me. And even Rob's not, this is like probably one of his least favorites in it. But everyone's going to critique the original. Do you think Wes Craven went back and said, oh man, I can see Freddy Krueger falling on the mattress on the stairs here, or I wish Freddy would have said this or that? Maybe he did, but you can't deny that's what set off everything. I mean, even a little bit, I mean, I love John Carpenter, but for you to say, like, after all these years, to say, like, hey, I don't feel this way about this, it's like, that doesn't really matter, man. That's what took off. That's what made people fall in love. It's not like people had theories they went home with. They went home with that movie, and they watched it, and they, like, love every bit of it. Love what got you here. And I know it's an artist's job and whatever you do to critique yourself. Everyone does. But, man, this is one that I don't think deserves the harsh critique. This invented characters.
Well, it's the same thing. I kind of compare this like your first movie to, your favorite artist's first albums. Mm-hmm. That's back when they were hungry. That's back when they, weren't successful. That's back when they were at when they wanted it the most. And
sure.
And you could tell Rob, through all the shit he went through, he really wanted this movie to be made. This is when he was hungry for movie. He already did the music thing, but, he's getting into the movie world now, so he was hungry.
He's like Ozark and I.
Yeah. Exactly. So his favorite movie? Probably not. But some of everybody else's favorite movie? Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people prefer Devil's Rejects to this movie, but I'm not that way. I prefer this movie to Devil's Rejects, but I like both a lot.
Yeah, Devil's Rejects has a lot more of the characters all together in it, Cam Spaulding, a lot more of him, probably. That's why. But
so I want you guys to do your homework. I want you to come back to Sloppy Horror in whatever facet that you guys get a hold of us, be it Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, email. I don't care.
Email?
A carrier pigeon.
Who the fuck emails anymore?
A lot of people email. That's like a very common way.
I don't think so.
I go through like 12 emails a day for work.
They're all spam.
For work?
Oh, for work?
Yeah, this is our job.
Well, that's different.
Yeah. Oh, this is our job, too. I put a lot of work into this. So, whatever way you get a hold of us, you tell me. You
better put a balloon with a note.
Send a carrier
if
pigeon.
Somebody...
Message in a bottle.
Can you imagine if somebody tied a balloon with a message to us and somehow it got to us? If that ever happened...
It would, though.
Dude, I would drive to their house and give them all the money in my pocket.
You'd be like me, and you'd be sitting on a bench like Forrest Gump and the feathers blowing by us. So
I want to do that more often. I want to get balloons, and I just want to write fucked up messages on them. Like nothing like threatening or anything, just like the weirdest shit and see who finds them.
Like, check out my grandpa's OnlyFans,
Send a dick pic to this number.
Yeah, I like that. But I want you guys to do your homework, and however you choose to get a hold of us, I want you to tell me, which horror director do you know making original ideas, casting 5, 6, 7, 8 horror legends in his movies? If you can find me one of those, I'll say kudos. I will say kudos. But if not, I stand on this hill. Leave my man Robert Zombert alone. He makes great flicks. He's original. And even if they're not yours, even if they're not for you, like Hereditary, Midsommar, like those kind of movies, not my wheelhouse, okay? They're 3 hours long. They're slow burn horror movies, but they are shot great. They look good.
It's a horror movie, man. It ain't bad. It's like a one-time watch. Those kinds of movies are for me.
For sure.
Like I don't feel the need to go back and watch them again because there weren't really memorable things in those movies.
They're just so long for me, but in a sense that as filmmakers, and even I feel this way about Jordan Peele, like your filmmaking ability, I'm not in question of.
No.
You
know how to make a movie, pal.
It's just the story itself that I'm not all the way there with. And there's a lot of people who are going to feel that way with this movie. And that's okay. I'm totally okay with that in Rob's work.
Yeah, that's not... Well,
respect the damn man. Respect him.
If you like a good story, probably ain't going to be for you, man, because there's not much of a story to this.
Oh, I disagree, Mark. I'm saying there's a lot of story to this, in my opinion.
You think so?
Well, he's developed a whole family, like a whole.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about the story of the story of the movie, the plot.
Oh, you're saying like as far as like a twist or some like crazy dramatic.
Like it's not. But I'm not docking a movie. It's great, but there's not much of a detailed story.
I got you.
I can sum it up in like 2 sentences of what the story of the movie is.
I got you.
But that doesn't make it any less great. I'm just saying if you liked all the complex multiple stories and fucking a story and shit in a
Think
movie.
pieces.
Yeah, think pieces, no, this is mindless fun.
Exactly.
It's
fun
mindless
time.
fun. It's a fun time. You and me can watch this movie and laugh hysterically about half the movie.
Yeah.
And have fun.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. No, okay. Yeah, you're exactly right. In
That's
that
what I
sense.
was trying to say.
But as far as, being original, got to give the man credit. You guys give him love. I'm so pumped that we finally got to do one of his movies. And obviously, we're going to do all of them. We're just trying to go all across the map, all around the world.
Take it around town.
Exactly.
Bring it around town.
Exactly. So
You gotta diverse yourself a little bit. You know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you guys for checking us out. Obviously, the world's opening up. We're back out. We're going to be out there. I don't know where you'll see us. Maybe in a convention in your town. Maybe in your sister's bedroom. Wherever you find us, we'll give you a t-shirt. We'll say what's up. I hope you guys spread the love, too. We very much appreciate it. So if you're here, hell yeah. We'll be back next week with some more flavor. We're not telling you what we're talking about. You're just going to have to wait. You're going to have to savor the flavor.
Yeah. I have nothing to say right now. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay, Mark. Well,
what do you got to do here? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Ozark's speechless. So am I.
Did you have to sneeze?
No.
Burp?
No.
Cough?
Yes.
You have to cough?
Yes.
Maybe you should try a cough drop.
Cough chop. Yeah. I like those Luden ones. They're like cherries.
Cough drop.
Cough drop. All right, you boys and girls, you stay fun. You have fun out there. You guys stay out of trouble. We'll be back next week. We're fucking out of here. I'm out of here.
I'm still going to stay for a second.
Okay.
Wait, where are you going?
Get a Go-Gurt.
A what? A what?